Hello and welcome to WhatsTheP, YouTube's newest gay black talk channel focusing on topics that impact our community. I'm Curtis Rusella.
I'm Justin Lamar.
And we are your hosts. Joining us, we have two guest hosts for discussion. We have Robert Bino and JB. This month's topics will be focusing on relationships. And in today's episode, we'll be sharing our perspective about interracial dating. The purpose of this discussion is that we see a growing trend in the black community on social media. In 2020 census data shows that 20.2% of all gay couples are in interracial relationships, which is 2% higher than our heterosexual counterparts. We have seen this trend become more prevalent in mainstream media as it pertains to black gay celebrities, sparking a few discussions in social media ranging from, does black gay love actually exist, to why are black gays dating outside their race, and finally, there's no good black gays out there, so we want to date outside of our race. So let's jump right into the questions that we see on social media as it pertains to this topic. Is dating outside of our race a form of self-hate?
I don't think it is a form of self-hate. I personally think that in today's society, for me personally, I feel I shouldn't limit myself in anything that I do, especially when it comes to relationships. No, why should I just limit myself to only dating a black man?
Well, I mean, I think define self-hate. I don't think people consciously look, maybe some do, but from my perspective, I've never found myself consciously looking to date somebody that's from a different race. I think maybe subconsciously that might be a factor, but at the forefront of my mind is always, I just want to meet somebody that's cool, somebody that, you know, we get along, somebody that I can relate to, and somebody that's just easy to chill and vibe with. And I don't care what color it comes in.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, you know, being biracial, I have always maintained that I totally never focus on race, because I grew up with a mom that looked nothing like me and a dad that looked a little similar to me. And quite frankly, I didn't realize I looked kind of different, or I didn't look like any of them until I came to the US. So I think there's something in this country that forces people to see themselves and identify by ticking a box.
I think in a lot of settings, and especially specifically with social media and how we came about the topic, is that I was looking on a box and we were looking at a couple of feeds that were happening on Facebook, and there were black guys that were specifically saying that they would not date, or they weren't going to date black men. Mm-hmm. And they felt like black men were cheaters, they weren't educated enough, or they were going to get treated better by others. And so when in that specific instance, I kind of feel like it is a form of self-hate.
But also you have to remember that we don't know what these guys have been through.
Right.
We don't know, like, if you're growing up gay and you decide to come out and you go in a gay house and you realize these people are shady, these people have done you wrong, and you feel like, well, they try to date black guys, but then once they go to the other race, they might think, hey, it's new, it's fresh. Can it be a form of self-hate? Yes, because your own race have done you so wrong.
But is that the black men or the people that you are attracting? Because if you go to my theory is you're still attracting the same person, it's now just wrapped in a different skin.
I agree. Yeah.
So you know, like, so why categorize the whole group as bad?
Because that's their experience.
And I agree with Justin. I think your experience shapes what you do,
what you like,
or even what you like. And I don't think we should judge somebody because they choose to date somebody outside of their race. I mean, because if you look at it, like, Hispanic men are known to be good providers.
Yep.
For whatever reason, that's what's out there, and women tend to gravitate towards that.
But says who? Statistics have shown that black men, heterosexual black men, are actually more involved with their families than any other race.
I'm not sure what statistics you're citing.
No, that's why Huggies has that Pampers of the black man now with the baby. because
But is that fairly recent though? Because
that is recent.
I'm like, so,
but it is recent, but we're being more involved. And so, with that being said, even though that's a heterosexual thing, I think as a whole, it's black men, and people in general are judging black men in this negative way all the time. And I personally, I don't fault anybody for dating outside their race. Yeah, I mean, I think if you fall in love with whoever you fall in love with,
yeah, but I
then
think
that's okay.
It's okay to like somebody or date somebody else and not attribute that to not liking black men,
Right.
or casting a blanket across the entire race, like what you're doing. I think you like who you like, you date who you date, our experiences form our opinions and how we choose to move forward. And I think we've just got to support that. Not everybody's going to like everybody.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, let's jump to our next question. Have you ever dated outside your race, and do you have a preference? Curtis, why don't you start?
Yes, I have. I'm originally from Kansas, and I grew up as a military brat, and then I went to college in Phoenix and lived out there for 8 years. And so, as you can see, I was probably, and most definitely, one of the only black people in my group of friends. I was one of the only black guys there, and I've always found other races attractive. So, and I mean, I don't not find them attractive. So, yeah.
Yeah, I have dated outside of my race. For me, I grew up in a household where, first of all, you know, being gay was frowned upon. So that's first and foremost. And then secondly, yeah, I was told before I came out of the closet that
You leaped out of that closet.
I'm coming out. I came out at the age of 16, but you know, before I came out, it was told that, hey, you better not bring a white girl into my house. So let's start with that first. So then when I came out, and then growing up in Mo City, my area that I was in, it was predominantly black and Hispanics. So I really, to be honest with you, didn't get the full other races until I got into high school. And then by that time, I started really liking men, and I guess for the most part I was being defiant, and you know what, let me try and see how a white guy is going to be, how they compare to a black man or an Hispanic man. Now, actually, for the most part, growing up, I've had an attraction towards an Hispanic guy still to this day.
No, I mean, I've dated outside. Well, first of all, I mean, for me to say I've dated outside my race, I really don't. I've always identified as mixed. So I've dated, you know, outside of the mixed race, if you will. But it was never a conscious choice. I mean, I always, I dated who I was attracted to or who I met that I thought had some potential. And I have dated, you know, a lot of Hispanic guys, a lot of black guys. I've even dated some white guys. What I have noticed is, though, a standard that I've always maintained is, if I'm going to date a white guy, because I've noticed a trend where some white guys always want to go for the hot black guys. And for me, it needs to be an equal pairing. Like, you know, I carry myself a certain way, I should attract a certain level of guys. I see this especially in the heterosexual world. 80% of the time you see a white guy with a black girl, she looks like Tyra Banks.
I agree.
Or Naomi Campbell.
I agree.
It all comes down to the black culture in the U.S. is slow to embrace.
And I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Homosexuality.
Yes,
You've got
correct.
the church that's still
Correct.
relatively important. At the forefront, you've got families.
Yes.
You know, a lot of people, their grandparents are still around. And they're from a different era, and I think that forces people to make the decisions they do.
You know, if we look at the black community as a whole, yeah, being gay is still unfortunately frowned upon, and we're in 2019, heading to 2020, and no, we still can't be honest about who we are. Older black men who are into, you know, well into their careers, and if they come out, they feel like, oh, you know, they're going to be discriminated against. You know, I work in HR.
But we see that everybody that has lately, I would say over the last 5 years in celebrities, the people that have chosen to come out have fared very well.
But even let's think about
Yes, but they're in the spotlight.
Think
and
about
what choice, you know, do,
No, but
do
they're
people
told.
have
I
not
bet
to
you.
embrace
I bet
them?
you they're told that it will damage your career if you choose to step out.
I don't think that's an issue anymore. To be
I don't
honest.
think so. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's an issue because
I
that's
mean,
why I'm out.
I mean, but we have gay shows now. I mean,
Yeah.
what's the one Pose and whatever? Then
Yeah, but that's not gay. You know,
Well,
like
what is
it's
it?
No, it's not gay. It's trans. It's mostly
Yeah.
trans.
Okay.
It's
Oh,
not.
but
Oh, that's
it's
about
not-
the
it's not-
LGBT
It's
community.
It's
Right.
LGBTQ.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's within the community.
but just like the show,
It's not the
the
same
show
umbrella.
was focusing on, and that's one reason why we were having the show, because there's not a representation of black gay men that are just regular guys, just like ourselves.
Yes,
So,
there
like-
was. There was Noah's Ark.
No,
And
yes.
Yes,
But-
and
But-
that was well received.
Yeah,
But that was over 10 years ago.
But you know how long it took for that show to get well received?
But it
And-
it ended up being well received.
We're talking
And-
about now, present day.
Okay, well, so
2019.
present day we don't need a show because I don't think
No,
the need
I
exists
do.
to have a
I do
show
believe we
to
do.
promote tolerance.
You do.
So, what do you feel are some of the pros of dating outside of your race? Since we all except one have dated outside of our race.
Yeah.
What do you feel are some of the pros?
That's a loaded question because
is.
I think it implies that you're looking. You see an advantage.
One of the pros is you get to meet new people.
Okay.
You get to meet, learn different perspectives on certain topics. I mean, it's different perspectives. Like, I mean, and then too, just like all black people don't think the same. So you also get to experience and learn how they perceive things. What's the P? So
You see, that's so funny. that is so funny because coming from a different country, I totally would not convey what you just conveyed, that you get to see a different culture, you get to see, because I think where I come from, we all kind of identify as Guyanese. That's the culture. We all eat the same food, do the same things, celebrate most of the same holidays. So
But there
there's
are
not
segments within the
but there's not
community,
that
though.
much more to peer into where I would think, okay, well, dating another Guyanese person that maybe is Indian or maybe Portuguese or something else, I will learn so much more. So I think that just speaks to the division that we've got here in the U.S.
Dating, I think even dating within our own culture, dating somebody like guys, when I've dated black guys, people perceive me as being different, a different type of black. I think there are some pros, but I also think when we look to that for those pros, there are a lot. I think you run into cons too, and why I choose not to. Even though I'm attracted to guys, I prefer not to date anybody that's not black right now.
Okay, so let's jump right to the next question. Is there any pros to dating black within the black community?
I think, maybe somewhat of a closer tie culturally.
Yeah.
But then again, it goes back to the whole thing, is we're all Americans in this country, and yet there are subcultures. But, why lean on dating somebody? Why confine yourself to that?
I don't think you're confining yourself. I think especially right now in today's climate with Trump and all the stuff that's going on, I feel myself becoming a little more negative to other races. And and in situations such like when people say bigoted things, sometimes it like resonates with me, and I feel if I'm with somebody, I want to be able to look at them and be like, "Did you catch that?" And not even have to say it.
Well,
no, because when you're with somebody maybe that's white or something, you have to explain it, and then you have to go into the background on why people. Yes, it happens. I have a lot of friends.
It happens, yes, but I'm saying not all the time because
not all the time.
You still have.
But I think people aren't going to immediately recognize that without the explanation, and I don't want to have to go through the explanation.
That makes sense.
Let's get into what I find interesting, and it kind of ties into what we discussed a little bit earlier. As it pertains to race and selecting a significant other, do you think sometimes people get into it, date other races because it's a preference, or do you think it's kind of racist or fetishizing?
I think when they're hooking up, it's a fetish. But if you're going to be in a relationship with somebody, I feel like you shouldn't have a fantasize about somebody you trying to spend like your rest of your like years and months with.
I'm looking for different qualities, period, if I'm going to, you know, settle down with somebody. And I'm not looking for, and there wouldn't be a racial filter. I mean, I will be open to any.
So whoever you fall in love with.
Whoever I fall in love with, whoever, you know, we get along, whoever there's a really great bond and compatibility.
I would hope so. I don't know. I think I've become a little biased with that because I think being around a tremendous amount of people other than my black self, except for the last 8 years, I think I've heard and been subjected to a lot of fetishes and fulfilling their little cheap little dreams or something, and it makes you feel like you're a piece of meat.
You're not that.
Yeah, but Curtis, you're in charge. You control that.
Right. I did, but I think that's another reason why it kind of turns me off from it, and I really feel uncomfortable when they come and talk to me. Like I feel like there's an ulterior motive.
But you know, I think the hookup talk and
relationship,
the way you approach a relationship, that intro is completely different.
Well, for me, it hadn't
especially
been because,
if you're on the apps.
Well, I think for me specifically, I used to travel a lot in my previous careers. I was a road warrior, traveled 95% of the time, and so I met people through my apps. And all of my relationships that I started dating people with had
been from the apps?
Been from the apps. And they were, I think they were quality people.
You know what, I mean, going back to the whole relationship deal, because I mean, I'm something of substance. Regardless again, this is just me, regardless if you're black, you're white, you're Asian, heck, for the most part at this time right now, I've had them all. But just be open, just let's talk, you know, let's just have that communication.
And that's the P. Thank you, JB and Robert, for joining us on this week's topic on interracial dating. We hope you enjoyed our show. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with your family and friends about What's the P. Also, we want to know your P. Comment below to let us know what you thought. One last thing. Monday night at 7:30 p.m., we want to know what's your P on Facebook Live. And that's the P.